Yeah, let's see. Oh, it's already almost a quarter after. So I think we'll just get underway, and maybe we'll do a quick round of introductions. I think you've all seen each other before in one way, shape, or form, but we'll start with Sharon over there in the closet in San
Yeah,
Diego. Or
my 43-inch wide room here.
there we go. Hey, what more do you need?
That's it. I fit.
Yeah. What's new in Sharon's world?
Well, Sharon's working on getting the shop ready for trying to start making some more Copenhagens.
Hmm.
I've had to wait for some of my husband's projects to get done because they take up all the space that I need to use. And I hope to get those back, for sale again. And I probably have enough for maybe 100 of them to make, maybe a little
Sure.
bit less. And then I have to uh, do the terrible thing of trying to buy more material,
Yeah.
not knowing what tariffs will be or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Well,
that's,
cool.
yeah. I haven't, like I was telling Luther, I haven't had a chance to do any much cooking this summer because it's overcast all the time. And as soon as I get a bright sunny day, get my stuff out, and you can see the overcast rolling in because we're, like a mile and a half from the ocean. So,
Well, cool. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, next time you get to France, check in with Alon and see his that metal shop, the shop where they actually
oh,
stamp out
I
collectors.
would just that'd be heaven to me.
Yeah. And I will be the two groups. It's the one group that has several shops in France, and Dave was there when we visited the assembly shop, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the two fellows there that were working were clearly they loved what they were doing and ready to answer questions and so forth. And then but the metal place, it was a lot noisier, a lot of overhead cranes lifting, 50 sheets of probably 2 meters by 4 meter sheets of these aluminum reflector stuff or whatever else they had there. I mean, they had about 20 different projects going at once. And I have clips of that. It's not nearly as well organized as it was for the assembly shop. For one thing, the metal shop, they were a little more guarded about the actual workers being shown in the video, so which made it a little tricky. But I think I'll have enough there to insert into the one with the assembly shop. Okay, well, Andy, what's new up there in the?
Well, I haven't built anything new. All my new things that I build take place during the winter. And then the summer, I try to concentrate on using my new design.
Mhm.
Uh, since it's been sunny a couple of days here, I did some baking, which works very well on my solar. It's a parabola oven, really. It's a solar. It's a dish that is used for as a reflector in photography, and it's like 30-inch diameter, and the focus is within the dish. So I can put a cover on it, a Lexan cover, to make it turn it into an oven. And yesterday I baked what called, I guess, the ultimate blackberry crumble, and
Ooh,
it's
oh,
it's the it's the I guess the dough or whatever is on the bottom of the um, pot, and then there's a layer of blackberries. We have wild blackberries growing in the backyard for about like for a month, and then blackberries and then crumble on top. And I baked it for 2 hours. After an hour, I took the lid off, and it was boiling. But I kept it in the cooker for another hour, and the top got a little kind of burnt, crumbly. That's supposed to do. And also around the edges, typically, it starts to kind of burn or get kind of more crusty. And what I do with my pot is I put it in. After an hour, I rotate it 180 degrees. So I get try to get uniform cooking on what I'm baking. And again, whatever I bake, it usually kind of, like you said, Luther, it sags in the middle a little bit. But that's my presentation for this morning.
Well, I had a pretty big breakfast, but you're making me hungry again.
And they're very, very tasty, and they're also very high in calories because all these baked goods take a lot of butter, and but very tasty and a lot of calories. So
Sure.
that's
Butter, the necessary evil in cooking.
that's my contribution this morning.
Well, thanks. And as you know, I'll be back up there in late October, early November, I think. Hope to brighten your door and Tom Sponheim's and Paul Hedrick's. So looking forward to that. Okay, well, Dave Oxford in Cornwall, right? How are you doing?
I guess you hear me now. I'm not in charge of this machine. It's running Linux, right? Because I've replaced so I don't really know what I'm doing today. So please apologize. That's why I was late. So yeah, I was hoping I can see Stan's workshop there. Can I?
Yep.
Yeah. It's Stan. Are you there, Stan?
Yes, I'm here, Dave.
Hi. Well, I just want you to know, Stan, that your inventiveness and so on has migrated across the Atlantic. Because my friend Segi Segaran, who's been in touch with you recently about motor drives and stuff like that, has started making trackers in this country, and demonstrated it at a recent festival, off-grid festival that we went to demonstrate solar cooking, and it worked very well for a little while. And then Segi brought it over, and he said, because we were in the middle of a field, and he said it runs perfectly well on grass, right? But when you hadn't realised that we'd had a massive rain shower the day before, and we set the tracker up and it was going fine, and then we noticed it wasn't tracking the sun anymore, and so I looked underneath, and basically, because nothing stops those motors because of the drive ratio, they just keep grinding on. And this tracker wheel had dug itself down to the axle in the field. So basically, it wasn't going sideways anymore, but it was trying to reach Australia. It was digging itself in. So, but yeah, and I brought one back with me, which I'm just in the process of setting up here. So the trackers are starting to spread around the UK now. Stuart, my mate Stuart has got one. He's in London. So eventually we'll send you a map of the UK with where all the trackers are, and you can see how it's spread. So thanks very much. We did discuss this, you and I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was keen to make one, but I couldn't really I wasn't confident that I could find the equivalent components that you were talking about. But then my friend Segi, he's an electronics engineer, so he understood very well what you were talking about, and he's managed to source all the components and got a very successful model up and running now. So thanks to you, actually.
It was really fun working with him on that. I really enjoyed that. I'm proud to hear that it's spreading around out there. That's great. Today I'm going to show you my state of the art of where I am with tracking.
Okay. That's good. So, I mean, that's about all I have to say for today, Lisa. So, thanks for organising this.
Sure thing. Okay, and then so now we got Stan with the, just some prefatory comments for all of you. If any of you caught my video with Laura Mignell in Brownsville, Texas, and how she got an award that was partly sponsored by NASA for a solar thermal fix to a really serious problem in the South United States where they have a lot of fish farms, and how fish can survive fine under a frozen crust of a lake. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just from Minnesota, but if the temperature of the water drops too fast, it can kill the fish. It's not the temperature; it's the rate. And so they had a real challenge for a few years where they'd have a real just quick freeze in Arkansas, where they have a lot of these farms, and they called it the Hero X Award, and she won the top prize for a purely solar thermal project. And I only mention it because in the criteria it was marketed toward what they called citizen scientists. And
Mm.
I haven't done enough of this, but I've tried to make sure anyone that knows about solar cooking, folks like you right here on this call, you're citizen scientists. You are taking, recognized scientific principles, technical stuff, and putting them to practical use. And Stan is, of course, um, I think he might be too modest to consider himself a scientist, but that's what you're doing. You're taking the electricity, all the principles of electricity, and applying it to the solar thermal to make just a really nice marriage of science. Two aspects of science. So Stan, take it away.
All right. So it's been about 5 or 6 years I've been trying to come up with the ultimate tracker, and I think I might have done it. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this. I tried to figure out a way to building a tracker can be intimidating for people. So I tried to break the project up into bite-sized pieces where each little mini sub project gets you a payback, and then you can go to the next one and go as far as you need to go. So the first thing to do would be to build this cart. This is just a little wheeled cart with a motorized wheel in the back. And we're going to take 2 solar panels, cross-wired together. And we'll stick that on here. I'm not going to actually run these today. Now, this could be a tracker for a tube cooker, a panel cooker, or something like that. It's important to understand that wherever this sensor is pointing is going to be pointing at the sun. So if this was a tube cooker and I wanted to point the sun this way, I put the sensor like that. If I had something I wanted to point at the sun this way, I would turn it like that. Now, even if we're not tilting the cooker, it's important to tilt the sensor. So the sensor, I put a swivel on them. I use mic clips because of my musician background, but a mic clip is a built-in little swivel, so that works great. So anyway, this would be a rotation only tracker, very easy to build. It's very accurate. The accuracy improves when this angle is correct, pointing at the sun, because then this shades the lead panel sooner, and that's what causes the rotation. So now let's add tilt to this. Now that would be the next thing we would need. Now to go to tilt, the tilt is the hardest part of building a tracker. And this is the easiest tilt mechanism I've ever had. This is a swing. Instead of lifting the cooker, we're just swinging it to tilt it. It uses less force. I'm going to just put this on here. I made it so it's removable because it's easier to transport things like that. Let me just put that on here real quick, like. There you go. One's enough for now. Now, Now, at this point, what's important on the tilt of, see, now the sensor is going to move with the tilting. So I don't have to worry about the sensor not pointing at the sun. So this, if this is a sun oven on here, then this sensor needs to be in the same plane as the sun ovens, because the sensor is going to aim itself at the sun. So if the sensor is aligned to the sun oven, then the sun oven will be pointed at the sun. Now we have a tracker that has easy tilt adjustment, manual, very accurate, very easy. Look at the, you're looking at every component, 2 solar panels, a motor. It's great. Now, what if we want to automate the tilt? Next project. This is the a homemade linear actuator. It's a motor mount, a coupling, a threaded rod, a piece of pipe with a nut for that threaded rod soldered in, 2 switches, limit switches, and a cord. Let me put it on. There we go. Now, if we want to run that linear actuator, we need to change the sensor, because this sensor is only for rotation. So I had a sensor like this, and when I decided I wanted to make it for tilt also, I added 2 more panels. Show you what that looks like. Oh, before I go there, one thing I forgot to mention. For the rotation panel, for the trackers, this right here is where you can plug in a thermostat. Now remember that one panel rotates the tracker clockwise, the other one rotates it counterclockwise. So by interrupting this wire here with a thermostat, when it reaches the temperature, it turns off the clockwise panel, and that causes the tracker to rotate counterclockwise, which it then cools. And then the thermostat connects the panel back, and it goes back to the sun. So that's how you can have a thermostat like, where'd it go? Here. And you plug the thermostat into there, and you've got temperature control. Simple. This is a mechanical analog thermostat. Okay, now we're going to the powering the tilt. So now we've added 2 more solar panels to the sensor. And because I've hooked up the linear actuator, I need to be sure to let these loose. I've made that mistake a couple times. So now this plugs into the, I'll do it. This plugs into that. And here, there's no snuffing to run right at the moment, but there we go. It's ready to go. And there she is. Now at this point, this tracker, I've gone over throughout the day, all day long, and checked the aimers on the sun oven, and they were spot on every single time. But if this is working in some loose, uneven soil, it really works best if it's on a nice, flat, smooth surface. If you have a whole lot of weight, that's going to impact it, because these don't have a lot of power. So if you need a more powerful tracker, and if you've gone this far, all you need to do to to make it more powerful, this just fits onto here. This replaces that sensor there. This plugs into the controller, and then the motor plugs into this. The two motors plug into this, and then you've got the in effect. See, when you need more power, you'd have to make this sensors bigger and bigger and bigger. Using this effectively makes the sensor about like that. So you need lots more power. Interestingly enough, though, it becomes slightly less accurate. The direction the solar from this to the other one is about maybe every 3 or 4 minutes, and it's just that difference. I think you get more heat by I think this one without the battery and all the other stuff is actually more accurate, but that's only if you give it the right conditions, the right surface to operate on, and not too much weight. Let's put the cooker on. That goes like that. Hook this on right here. And there's our cooker. I think that's my presentation.
Wow. Now, just for one quick point of information, pretty much all the parts you have there, they're either off the shelf or repurposed, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we're good. We're good. So Sharon or Mary or Jennifer, who have just joined us. In fact, before we go any further, Mary and Jennifer, if you want to unmute and introduce yourselves and tell us what you've got going.
Good morning. This
Good
is
morning.
Jennifer. Hi, Stan.
Hi there.
This is I'm sorry I couldn't log on right at 11, but I got enough of it. I really appreciate you're just incredible. I'm looking at the tracker right now on my deck, and it's really I've come to appreciate it so much working with it recently, but I also feel I didn't appreciate, I underappreciated its level of importance to me. I started cooking with it, even though my cooker, my Solivor, doesn't fit on the luggage rack very well. It is what a benefit. You know, I put my food in, I orient everything in the beginning, and the cooker now tracks. It's beautiful, and I can leave. And I didn't realize what a privilege that is.
It's habit forming, I warn you.
But it is. It's really great. Mary and I are very appreciative to have it, and we look forward. We're doing the Ohio Mushroom Festival coming up here soon, and we are going to take it with us. She has the sun oven, so
Yeah,
it'll
the sun
be.
oven is really the ideal cooker for a tracker, I think, with that swinging rack and everything. A sun oven on a
rack.
tracker is really hard to beat. You know, the only thing we like better than a sun oven on a tracker is my homemade box cookers on a tracker.
Well, it does. You know, I oriented my Solivor fairly well, but without that rack, without the leveling rack or leveling shelf, you know, I struggled to keep my food in the pot. But thank you. I wanted to thank you for all your time that you spent with me. I'm on my way to considering making a tracker myself.
There you go. Joining the ranks of a citizen scientist. You and Mary came on after my little prelude to Stan's presentation about Laura Mignell and how I'd never really heard the term before. If I did, I forgot it. Where she won this award, and it was pitched towards citizen scientists, people that were not part of the corporate research world and that sort of stuff, or universities. And that's what all of you guys are doing. It's great.
Well, and you know, I think that's really significant if we want this to be available in so many other regions of the world. we have to feel confident and be willing to attack it and not be afraid to troubleshoot something. I mean, once I stopped being afraid of a tracker, that I'd break it or something else would go wrong with it. I started taking things apart so I could understand how it worked. And, if we're going to send these to places or encourage people in other places to take that risk, we found that with food. There are people who don't want to experiment with food because they don't want to waste the food. So we have to be appreciative of that.
Well, and I was in on a Rotary call with one of their SRAG environmental task forces, where a woman in Uganda was promoting clean cooking, and Roger Haynes was on the same call, and she said, Roger, I'm sorry to say, but I can't promote solar cooking because I can't get it to work here in Uganda. Well, I looked up Uganda, and it's one of only a handful of countries in Africa that are below the average for insolation, for solar energy hitting the ground. And because they've been blessed with forests that haven't been totally wiped
Right.
off of their out of their nation. And but the thing that didn't occur to me during that call, because I was a little upset that she said that. We've come to terms on that. I mean, she's fine with it now, and as including Roger. And Roger's too much of a gentleman to call out something like that. I wasn't, but I pointed out. I said, "You're probably in a country." I didn't look up Uganda at the time, but I found out later. It's way more cloudy because the trees are there, and the trees cause clouds. So, but the thing that has occurred to me more recently is she should be able to do it if she had a tracker, because it probably, if she just, I set mine out, I'll set it out pointed toward where it would be at noon. If I set it out at 10, it's pointed to where it'll be at noon. And by the time noon rolls around, it's at that nice simmer all the way across. And it stays that way. I might move it once or twice, but tracking it in a country like Uganda, where if the cloud rolls in, well, it can find the sun. And you don't have to think about it. Rather than it isn't quite a set it and forget it country. Or like here, I'm in Albuquerque, we might have a cloud or two kind of flit across, during the day. But so the tracker isn't quite as critical. But even with it, even then, it's really nice. So, um, well, now Mary is on the call too. If you're not stepped out into the kitchen getting a coffee,
Yeah,
what's up with
I'm
you?
here. I'm here, sort of.
Yes.
Your voice.
Yeah, my voice is here. You're not going to see the face this morning. Um, so yeah, I was thinking as I was watching, I'm thinking about the idea of a maker challenge, and to me, this is the ideal topic um, for a maker challenge. And thinking about you know Jennifer taking the tracker over to Youngstown State University to their engineering department and the interest that was generated by the professor and the students in trying to help figure out how to get everything straightened out and working and understood. So I think that might be something to consider as we talk about maker challenges.
Yeah. I'll be in Tucson in about 3 weeks, and they're looking at. I know some of you are aware that they're considering putting on an international solar cooking conference there next year. And one fellow who's been involved, he's a professor at Pima Community College, whereas it's just more of a technical college where they're doing job skills with welding, metalwork, and that sort of thing. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think I got to pitch that to him, see if he can't work on that. He's done stuff with solar cooking with his department, but like a lot of community colleges, they're kind of like high school, where the gym teacher also teaches history and sociology. They kind of squeeze everything they can out of out of these public servants. But I'm making a note of that to talk to him about doing the same. Okay. Any other questions for Stan, or anything that comes to mind, Stan, that you'd want to something jarred loose? I know when I talk to people and all of a sudden something comes into
Well,
my brain.
one thing is I didn't really mention this, but that's what because I'm on the fence whether I prefer using the battery and the relays and all that, or the simple one that I just showed you. And one thing about the relays is that it can find the sun when I can't. I mean, it can actually find the sun when it's so cloudy. I'm not sure where it is. But the other interesting thing about it is if the early sun and early morning and there's sun on the ground over next to it, it'll point to the sun on the ground because that's the brightest thing it sees. It does quirky things like that sometimes. But I just thought I'd mention that for the places where you don't have a lot of sun, that would be a reason for going that way.
Sure. You know, that reminds me of a news article I heard where I read where drone technology, and of course, it came up in the context of the very horrible stuff going on with Ukraine, but that someone has figured out a GPS system that doesn't require satellites, just based on what seafarers going back centuries know. You know, when you line the stars up right and the sun and what's it called, the sextant or
Oh yeah.
descant or whatever it's called. I mix up musical terms with technical terms like that. But they figured out a way to, even with clouds, and so like you mentioned, Stan, even when it gets cloudy, you can kind of figure out where the sun is because it just knows how much energy and so forth. Well, we've got a map of the stars already, and we know how they track across the sky. They're able to fix on one star, and then that's all they need. They don't need a satellite.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like the ultimate satellite, one that's
Sure.
not going to go away, not going to get destroyed by spies or or what have
Mm-hmm.
you. So you've got some spy-proof technology there.
Machines controlled by the nearest star. That's what I like to call
Yes,
these
yes,
things.
exactly. Or like I forget who I was interviewing, and I remembered
Star
someone.
tracker.
Yes, or who I think it was Al Nichols who said the sun. It's the ultimate wireless energy, the ultimate wireless charger.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
Yes.
that brings up a thought I've been having because I have such really bad trouble with getting the sun. Is if we accept batteries and PV to move the solar cooker around, I would think that accepting that as a way to enhance your cooker, like the what is the one that he's got David Chalkers, that
Absolutely.
that would become an acceptable thing, that you can enhance your cooking experience if you live in an overcast area with using the little pads. Forget what they call them, but they're little silicone pads, and
He has.
they're like for heating pipes or something like that. But I think that if it's totally acceptable to use that to move your solar cooker around, it should be totally acceptable to heat your solar cooker with it when you can't, and have that even tied in to the tracker idea, that you could, the tracker would have a way of generating how often you should put on the power of the little pad inside the solar cooker.
I think
And
Craig Berglund has done a little bit. What is it? The Peltier, what do they call it? Peltier junction or box or something, where it's cold, really cold on one side, but really hot on the other.
yeah,
And that I think he uses that to heat up like ceramic tiles in his sun oven to get a little extra heat. Then also heat up the cooker itself. So
He
there's
uses nichrome wire too for things like that. I did some
that's right.
experimenting with it with some cookers that for a little while over here with that.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, it was your coming visit that really led me to this breakthrough on my trackers in a roundabout way, because the water heater in the trailer you stay in is all rusted out. So I had done a solar thermal way of heating that water, and it was kind of a pain. I have enough solar thermal water heaters on the ranch. I don't need another one. So I took some of those heating pads and put them on a little small tank, put the tank in an insulated bucket, set it below the water heater behind your trailer, and it thermosiphons up into the tank and heats it all the time. So I needed a better solar panel for that. So, and then the solar panel really ought to have a tracker, and I built a platform for that. And I was staring at that thinking, that's the sunniest spot on the ranch. That'd be a great thing for a solar cooker. And it occurred to me that the swinging of the solar panel would be a better way to tilt the cooker. and I wound up, working on this tracker for the solar education project. And this was, I was on my second version of the thing, and I had to completely tear it down because when I had this, this had to be the way to do it. It's so much easier. It works so much better that this is the third iteration, but it all came from me screwing around trying to heat your trailer water. So now there's just a fixed panel that heats your trailer, and it's just warm. It's not hot, but I figured, like we said, giving up a little degrees of temperature on solar water to have a wonderful new tracker technology, it was well worth it.
Sure. That's like you're like the ultimate Airbnb host, solving one problem and creating another solution, I guess you could say. Wow. Well, okay. Any other thoughts from the crowd or questions more for Stan or
Oh, I wanted to bring this thing up. Let's see. It's I put it online,
yes.
and it's basically a pottery bowl with black sand in it and panels on it to make a solar cooker. And it was one of Marie Talca's, her friend uh, Stella Andrassi. Yeah, she came up with that. So I'm waiting for my black sand to come. And I want to try doing it because I think that would be a really interesting way because you just put a panel of glass over the top of the bowl and you can make a solar oven out of it and just have a Copenhagen, a beast that would reflect down into it. And stuff. So I'm doing all the thinking. I'll have the stuff in a couple of weeks to try it out.
Hey,
And that's
Sharon,
Yeah.
okay.
it's Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Um, on that same note, I'm just going to um, reflect back to when I was teaching and share with you that I had a student when I was doing fifth grade science who designed their solar oven with the sand as
Oh,
the insulation to because they remembered how walking on the beach felt hot on their feet, so they were really using some past experience to help them try to design something unique. And lo and behold, they came up with something pretty nice. It wasn't
that's
black
great.
sand; it was regular sand.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, and it's
But
amazing if you give kids a chance to just explore and to be creative and think problems through. They'll come up with all kinds of interesting solutions.
they're so smart.
Yeah, yeah,
They just need a little guidance
they
and
do. They need a little freedom to think and do and be makers. Yep.
that's really cool. Now you got my head working on because I was going to redo my metal one that I made back in '79. I could actually put a metal liner in it and fill it with sand. It
Here
would
we
be
go.
stationary because it'd be pretty heavy.
I'm
But
pretty sure theirs was cardboard, so
yeah.
our materials were somewhat
Right, right.
limited.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
that's where, because
but yeah,
I know you can do corn, put corn in it. And I guess that's the way some street vendors would do popcorn, you know.
interesting. Yeah,
And so, but that's great. The kid used the brain to think about the hot sand and then tried it for
yeah, yeah.
insulation. Cool. For hot.
Right.
But to affirm that in two directions. One is I'm in Albuquerque right now, as you know, and I ended up being on the board of the New Mexico Solar Energy Association due to the 90% plus likelihood that we're going to relocate here and actually try to set up an official museum. Well, one of the board members who's been president on and off and very active for decades, Walter Gersel, taught at University of New Mexico in all these in the physics and sciences and he presented at ACES a couple of years ago on just this big. It almost looked like a very short grain silo that was filled with gravel that was heated up to be able to retain heat and then create the energy over the night from that stored energy. And I don't know if he was the one that mentioned it, but the sand thing will work in limited the limited amount that you need for a solar cooker, a regular personal size solar cooker. I think for bigger things, it tends to compact at one end uh, due to the weight, whereas gravel, it can only compact so far, and there's going to be enough airspace in for the heat trans. I don't know. I didn't understand all the principles behind it, but the bottom line was it was a keep it simple, stupid kind of thing, like rocks, sand. We got that. You know, these phase change things that Cal Poly, and that's the other point of affirmation is in the end, their very last class, their class decided we're going to skip the salts and the sugars and the poly whatevers that they were using, and they just went to a lump of aluminum, just just a solid aluminum cylinder as a heat sink, and just went back. Let's just call it a heat sink. That's what it is. You know, a phase change that just, of course, the term implies that there's a process that you're going to have to control,
Yeah,
and
let's
they found
see.
it was just a lot of work to control it. And with salts in particular, the expansion and contraction was a real problem. I think the sugar is the same thing when it heated up. An incredible amount of engineering would have to go in to contain the stuff, whereas I'm sorry, sand and gravel, there's only so far. I'm sure there must be some expansion, but it must not be nearly as much. So keeping it simple, and that's one thing I don't know too many people that have really tried that in terms of a box cooker. The sun buckets, of course, that was a parabolically charged bucket, and then that was brought in as a hot plate to brought inside once it reached the right temperature. And they found that although it wasn't quite as hot with the aluminum, it was probably 90% as effective as the phase change, and really no uh, engineering marvels to contain it in the bucket. It was the bucket with a hot plate on top of it. So, but anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. Whatever you end up finding, Sharon, make sure you get your thermocouplers,
Yeah,
you got infrared cameras and all that. I know you'll have all the tools you need to
right.
keep
Well, I
track.
got, you remember I have that thing that Solar Cookers International, the tester,
Yep,
and I can test the ambient and then a couple of different combinations. And
sure. So you've repurposed the PEP tester for your
you
own
bet, yeah. Hey,
devices.
that was an expensive and hard work, project, but it was worth it.
Anything else for the good of the order? I've got nothing left. I have nothing planned for the rest of the day, so I can hang out all afternoon. But I'm sure all you guys have business to attend to. Anything else new? Oh, not hearing anything.
Yeah.
Well, like
Yeah,
I think I
I
said,
have a book on phase change material. I could put it in if I could find it back here. And it's actually a scientific book that gives you a pretty good idea of
oh,
what
sure.
materials in comparison. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I get that up there.
Oh, wow.
So that's a whole book on it, and it was done external engineering by Amy Fleischer. I think that's see, when was it written? It's from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, okay. I probably know the author.
Yeah,
Probably ran into a cafe or a bar or something.
Francis Kulaki was the editor. Um, yeah, it came out in 2015, but I just thought that might be helpful for people, to think about it. And what the heck? I'm actually
Yeah.
going to read it now.
Well, and it begs the question, the sun buckets idea and what Pete Schwartz had going. Um, they were the Pete Schwartz at his home. He had that solid cylinder of aluminum with just a hot plate underneath,
Mm,
and he uses it at home direct from his PV panels. He doesn't even have a battery interim, or I don't think he even has anything that uh, connects to the grid if the clouds roll over, because as we those of us with PV know, you can have clouds and still get some watts. I've got 6 kilowatts at home, and I'll get 500 watts if it's like a kind of almost a fairly dark overcast, and 1,000 or more, or 1 kilowatt if it's a light overcast where you can't quite make out the sun, but it's bright enough outside. So he says I can cook when it's overcast. And Cal Poly, when where he's located, he's probably about similar with you because that's
Yeah, he's about, yeah, I'm a mile and a half from the ocean. I think they're about 3 or something.
yeah, close
Yeah.
enough, Yeah. But well, anyway, well, and I'll just cap it off here. You all know I'm on this massive road trip. Joe retired in April, and when she decided in January to retire in April, we started to plan this trip, but also planned the Console Foods conference. And I took a lot of videos of Pierre Andre and him explaining the Scheffler reflector, some videos from inside the restaurant. Dave was there. That's like a dream. I mean, there's just no comparing when you're sitting there eating really good French food, well plated, but very, very high-end cuisine and cooked with the sun. I guess at least one day there wasn't quite enough sun, but I think they get biogas from nearby because it's all locally sourced food. In fact, they don't even use certain spices that can't be got from farms in France. So it's very, very very
French.
targeted local materials. Yeah, well, and and like probably original French cuisine. Before the Silk Road or whatever, when you could get all the fancy spices from around the world. Dave.
I think you have to tell the story about Pierre Andre's plan for making his biogas plant legal. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, in fact, yeah, I recorded his presentation uh, to the group, which I don't think it wasn't pre-recorded. So I'm hoping, and I've asked him if it's okay to share it. I don't think he has any problem with it, but and he described a little bit of that. But go ahead and give us a sketch of that.
Well, the backup, right from the first plan to build the Pressage, the sort of restaurant, was that the backup would be from biogas that was made from the food waste that they produced. And he actually got a biogas plant and they got it up and running. And then one of the local, I don't know, health and safety inspectors came down and said, you haven't, this doesn't meet the requirements for this sort of installation. And it turns out that in France, they never expected anyone to have a biogas plant that was that small. And so all of the regulations which apply to the huge, massive gasometer-sized biogas plants have to also apply to any biogas plant, no matter how small. And Pierre Andre, I think he realised, if you knew him, that this is typical of him. And he said, but he has a plan, and his plan is to break the law. And he plans to break the law while inviting the mayor, the local police chief, all of the local press, anyone he can get his hands on. And they'll invite everyone out round to eat, and he will ostentatiously present the food as cooked on illegal biogas, right? And he's hoping that this will create such a stir that they might even change the law to enable him to use it legally, which I thought was great.
A little bit of beneficent law-breaking protests.
Yeah, very French, very French.
Yes, very much, very Marseille too, I hear. Well, any last words? Any other thoughts?
Thanks, Luther.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. And with that being, was that a motion to adjourn? It doesn't need it needs a second, but it is not debatable. That's Robert's Rules of Order for those that aren't familiar with it. Okay, well, I will sign us off here, and this is recorded, and I maybe one or two things I might snip just because I wasn't clear on what I said, but yeah, unless anyone has any objections, we'll share it on the World Network and get people as excited as you are about the work you're doing with solar energy. Okay,
Thank you, Luther.
thank you. See you all next time.
Okay.